So this is August 4th, and we are just starting the New York session on NQ. And basically what I am seeing is that the bearish cycle that we had by the end of last week, it has sort of come to a reset. We had a full cycle up to MMB4 here. And from there we had a flush that actually is right now coming below the EMAs. So what I'm doing actually is I'm flipping the charts right now to have them straight up. And as you can see, there is some sort of, you could say, an accumulation around here, and now price is moving to the upside above the EMAs on the C2 time frame, and that has led me to label here also on the context time frame right before the opening of the session an accumulation in beach, which has been already been validated. And as you can see also on the validation time frame, I also have here a label, an accumulation in B, and from there we had this move to the upside, which is currently running up. So this could be something that we can start to follow up if this comes to a pause kind of that starts to create an MMB1, and then on the flush of it we can start following that for to start looking for possible entries. So that's what we are gonna do at this point. I'm gonna pause the video so I can come later as soon as I can see a setup starting to develop. So at this time I'm starting to see a pause here on the validation. So I'm gonna just move to the to my other screen. I'm gonna just start to draw what could be the containment line right here. Coming out of what a possible MMB1. So we have to wait at this point to see if price is gonna flush at least to the 10 EMA, and from there we can start following it for a double MB setup. So we, as you can see here, we're flushing. Still not at the 10 EMA. So we're starting to go above the containment line as it is drawn at the moment.
So Tesla shares up 2% after the company approves award of 96 million shares to Elon Musk.
So here, MMB1 has already been validated here through a close-up of the high, and in this case we had the move as we were expecting, but no touch of the, in this case, of the 10 EMA, so I wasn't even looking for a setup that at that point. There was certainly a touch of the 5 EMH, which is not drawn here, but if you place that, you can see that these actually these two wicks here on these bearish candles touched the 5 EMA, and from there was a setup, something around this, which would have placed nicely up to the 3R TP, just like that. But in this case, again, it's at this point it's not part of my rules to start looking for setups just at the touch of 5 EMA. I always wait at least for a touch of the 10, so that's the reason why I skipped this setup. But just wanted to show that there was certainly a nice double MB here out of MB1, MB2, a buy stop above this high, which is above the containment line and above rising EMAs, and this would, as said, this one would have placed nicely. So at this point I'm waiting for a new pause here on the cycle that we are seeing develop on our validation time frame. Here I have this already labeled as MMB2. Let's see if it comes at least to the 10 EMA, giving us a flush that will be good for us to start looking for a setup.
10 minutes away from the top of the hour, we get the US factory orders month to month. For the month of June, forecast minus 4.8%, prior 8.2%, with a range of minus 2.4% to minus 10.2%. Let me give the revised goods for durable orders, durable goods. Core durable goods forecast 0.2% unchanged from the prior, and durable goods revised forecast minus 9.3%, also unchanged from the prior.
So we're getting closer here through this flush. Let's wait to see if we get a touch of the 10. Here I have already drawn the containment line. So now we have already a touch of the 10. So now we will wait for a double MB with entry price above rising EMAs and above the containment line. So we have to wait here a little bit longer. So we are right at the 10 EMA on our validation time frame on a current flush out of MMB2. Now we are moving There's a double MB, but it was still below the EMAs. Now let's see if there's one that would be built here. So I have placed the buy stop above this high. If this one fails and goes below the EMAs, I would wait for another setup. It seems it's coming up once again. So that was a tap in for us at that candle here. So it has started to make a move. Now if I get here a flush and then a close above this high, I would be moving my stop to break even. Let's see if that is something that can occur. So we're moving up. With a close, I move my stop to break even. And now let's try to manage the trade. Let's see if there would be a validation of this MMB2.
Now to get the data for factory orders month on month. Forecast -4.8%, prior 8.2%.
Right now we are at
Core
the high
durable goods
of
revised
MMB2.
forecast 0.2% unchanged
see if
from
we-
prior. And durable goods revised forecast -9.3%, also unchanged from the prior.
Get above it. So we're getting above it. So now we're getting to a point where there is a close below the EMA, so we have a choice either to close at this point or trying to let it play a little bit longer to see if it can get to our TP. Yeah, and we were taken out at break even here. In this case, I was expecting here to get I was so close to the full TP, but well, this was my choice in this case, and this was finally a break even trade for me. So we came a little further into this move, now building MMB3. So we're at this point right now, having a flush into the 20 actually. So there's a bounce from the 20 at this moment, but we are below this containment line still. So this was a double MB valid entry, but price is still flushing down. So we have to wait to see if price wants to come a little bit deeper into the flush, as we have still room here at least, or we have room from the 20 to the 20. It's coming once again above the EMAs. This was another double MB entry above this high, which was not a tap in, and now price is falling below the EMAs. So still flushing. Now we had different entry setups that did not tap in, and as you can see, price has been staying inside this area. So at this point I'm gonna wait probably for a new flush before there's a setup built. As you can see, there was a double MB through this high, but I did not take it as we had this move below the EMA, so that was a no-go for me, even though that could have been a setup. And then we had this double MB here. This one certainly was not a tap in, and now price is, as I was expecting, coming through a deeper flush into the 20. So as we had this consolidation here, now I would use an what I call an internal containment line from this high up to here to see if this one would give us some sort of entry opportunity. So we are still...
According to Nikkei, Australia to choose Japan proposal for next generation frigates.
We are still inside of MMB3, so we have to see if this one will keep its strength to the upside, and give us an entry to continue the bullish cycle on our validation time frame up to at least the validation of MMB3. So and at this point it seems that MMB3 could fail with a strong bearish move. Now some buyers are coming in, but this candle is just about 30 seconds to get the close, so we have to see if buyers could come and make this candle close above the EMA before it closes. It seems they are having an opportunity to do that. Yeah. So now we gotta wait for a flush. No, not for a flush, but for a double MB. So it seems there's gonna be no chance for us to get in. So I normally don't like these entries at so high here, as they can just flush into my stop loss. So I'm just gonna probably close as soon as I get some profit here, if that happens. Let's see. So this is what I was just talking about. So I moved my stop to break even as I was getting a drawdown above or over the 50% at this point. So my rule in this case indicates me to move my stop to break even. So that's what I did in this case. So again, this was a valid double MB, but not my normal or my usual entry. As you can see, that the MMBs are way distant one from another, and the sizes of them are also very different. Here's a big MMB in comparison to this one, and that's due to the fact how this played out, this containment line. So we had to wait at least to this point for a valid setup, and also there was no chance, well, maybe here you can argue there was a chance to get in, but we were below the EMA, below the containment line. So again, was not so good setup. Actually, I should have avoided this one and waited for a much more clearer one, but well, in this case, my rule to move my stop to break even after I get an over 50% drawdown, well, that actually helped me to get out of a trade that I shouldn't have gotten in the first place. So at this point we are still inside of MMB3. We haven't validated that, and we're getting this flush here from the high, almost the high, up to the 20. So there could be a chance here to get some sort of move if we get a buy stop. So that could be an entry. And we could look here at least to this high to get some profit. So I'm not liking it very much at this point. So I'm gonna be looking to close if I get there, just for a bit above. Let's see. Not liking it very much at this moment. So let's see if we get there. So it seems we are gonna get here to the 20 once again. So it seems to be a stop for me. Yeah, that was not quite of a good move. We had here this MMB wasn't validated, here was not validated. The only fact here that I liked it was that this flush was sort of clear, went from the high up to the 20, and from there we had these double MB build-up. We had a gap here showing some sort of strength to the upside, but then after the entry it did not gave the follow-through I was expecting. Then it came back, and actually due to those things it would have been a good move for me to break even here. I believe that, yeah, this is what I tried, but my entry point was a little bit here above and I wasn't able to catch that. So at this point we're starting to see a failure of MMB3. I was just taking a deeper look at this cycle, and actually after this accumulation was confirmed, we had some sort of pause right here. So you could say that this actually was MMB1, and from there we could have MMB2, MMB3, and MMB4. And as we are on MMB4, we had this one almost validated. We did not validate it completely. We almost came to the high, and then at this time we are sort of getting sellers step in and trying to push price below the EMAs. At this point, this is certainly for me a reset. Now the question is if this is gonna start a new cycle from this point here, or if it's gonna look for a deeper flush, in this case from our context line, which is right here. And in this case we had the accumulation MB validated, made this aggressive move to the upside, and now there's a chance that there's some pause here. We are at the 5 EMA, so we could certainly just go on from here, looking for new highs, or there's a chance also that price could come and flush on this context time frame, looking for the 10 or the 20 EMA. So now it's just a matter of waiting to see if there's gonna be some sort of move to the downside here on our validation, which would be which would mean that there's gonna be a flush or a deeper flush on the context, or if there's gonna be some sideways, some stage 1 consolidation before a move to the upside. So now it's really a time of waiting to see how this is gonna be developing for the rest of the session. So at this point we are getting a flush out of MMB1 on our context time frame, which is something that we were expecting. We were coming right now, or we came to the 20. So that means that on our validation we have been going below the EMAs, and right now we're sitting here. So we have to wait to see if this is going to be a deeper flush, or if it's going to start building some sort of stage 1 here into a stage 2 that we can follow.
ChatGPT sees active users rising to 700 million from 500 million in the last year, according to CNBC.
So at this time, we are seeing price continue the flush into the 20, and then we recently had a reaction from there. Price closed below the 10 EMA and now is getting up again. So we're gonna follow up from here just to see if this here could be the start of a new bullish cycle, being this point here, which I'm gonna label as accumulation MB, and then we are gonna wait to see if this could be also the start of a flush of an momentum MB1. So we're gonna wait to see if this is something that could give us some entry opportunity. I'm gonna take a look at my other screen here. So right now we are at this point waiting for a flush,
Shortly expecting the 3-month and 6-month bill auction data.
waiting for a flush into the 10 or the 20. So let's wait to see if something like that could be developing. In this case, this would be a valid entry, as we are above the rising 20 on our context time frame, and we're getting a reaction or some sort of reaction out of the 10 EMA, and we are having the start of what could be a new bullish cycle on our validation time frame. So I'm gonna draw the containment line here on the validation, and now price seems to be flushing aggressively under the EMAs. So in this case, if this fails, we're gonna keep on looking if a new accumulation builds, or if this is gonna flush a little bit further down into the 20 EMA. So at the moment we are getting buyers coming in, so we have to see if this candle is gonna close below or above the EMA. So on the validation, the candle closed below the EMA. Now we have to see if there's going to be a reaction from there through a strong bullish momentum. So at this time, I would like to see the buildup of MMB2. Yeah, I was not fully liking the fact that the EMAs were pointing downwards. So it does not seem to be a good setup to follow, at least at this time.
3-month bill high yield of 4.165% and bid cover of 3.17%. And awarding 28.41% of bids at high and selling $87 billion. US 6-month bills with a high rate of 3.98% and a bid cover of 3.14, awarding 98.27% of bids at high and selling $77 billion.
Yeah, note that this here, this buy stop would have been a nice entry. I do not very much like the fact that we had these two candles, the bearish and the bullish cycle, a candle both closing below the EMAs. Then we had a strong move, a strong bullish move, and this is the reason why I would have considered a buy stop. And in this case, on our entry time frame, we had the buildup of MMB1 here, followed by MMB2, and a buy stop of this double MB would have been at this point with price above the containment line and above the rising EMA, so it would have been valid, and we would be in this case in profit starting the trade. But well, in this case I took the decision to stay out due to this reason, that both these candles, they closed below the EMAs. So that's basically the reason, even though the setup was valid as this strong bullish candle came in. At this point, I think I would probably have broken even, as we had this move, maybe not here, but I believe that at this point, with this candle closing above this high, I probably would have placed the stop loss at break even. So should I have taken this one, I would most probably have caught a break even. So now I'm taking a look at this flush, probably still being an MMB1. So I was interested in an entry here in case I go all the way to the 20 and get some sort of reaction from there. And maybe like this to get a touch here on the 20, and then the build up of a double MB. That would be nice. At this point I'm seeing that the EMAs on the context are starting to rise. So it seems and now I'm starting to see the move, but there was no chance for me to get in at this point, as I was just at the containment line. Now we're getting this flush, so these here could be a viable buy stop. So I'm gonna cancel this one. As price came below the EMAs, is still going below. So not a great setup actually. Now if I adjust the containment line, it starts to, yeah, and actually we're getting a very strong move to the downside at this point. So there is a chance that price could still get a little bit deeper on this flush before it starts again. So before buyers start to come in to sustain a move to the upside. So at this time, I am more inclined to think that this is gonna flush deeper, at least here to the 20. This is what I was just talking about, to see this price action on the context and see price flushing here to the 20 before having a true momentum to the upside. So now it's again waiting time, as we are having on the validation time frame price below the EMAs. So we're getting here on the context time frame. There was some sort of stage 1 here, some consolidation, which we are kind of, if we take a look at the validation time frame, I labeled this high here as my validation point for this accumulation MB, which was validated through this candle here. And we can also kind of consider this box here above this high. This was also an accumulation which was validated. So at this point, due to the fact that we validated this one and we actually had a candle close above this one, now I am willing to wait for a flush here, which would be an MMB1, and a flush into the 10 or the 20. The other thing that I like is that the EMAs are in the correct order at this time. So we have the 5, the 10, and the 20. So this could certainly lead into a move to the upside that we could step in case there's a proper flush. So I'm gonna follow this one and wait to see if there's a proper flush coming in. So at this time we had this move after the validation of this accumulation MB, and now we are flushing as part of this MMB1 here. This is basically at the, or we came up to the high of the day, and now we're flushing as part of MMB. As part of MMB1. And now we came on to the 20. This could be a buy stop if we're gonna get a reaction from the 20, or this could just flush a little bit deeper into the 20. So now we're flushing a little bit deeper. MA's pointing downwards. If we cross this low or get above this, below this low, we adjust the containment line. So on our context time frame, we again came up to the high of the day, and this is basically where we are at the moment. And this is basically MMB1, same as on the other screen. And price is kind of going sideways here, just around the reaction it had from the 10 EMA. So at this time we're getting a flush inside of MMB1, which wasn't validated here. Now we're getting this flush already into the 20. So this was here a touch of the 20. We have this containment line drawn. So that was a buy stop of this double MB high here. So if we get above this high here with a candle close above it, I'm gonna move the stop to break even. Otherwise I have to wait. So again, if I get a candle close above this high, I'll move the stop to break even. This wasn't above the close. That one has closed above, so here I move the stop to break even. So I decided to close there on this aggressive move to the downside. This one would have been a break-even
Russian Foreign
trade for
Ministry
me.
says Russia is no longer considers itself bound by a moratorium on deployment of short and medium-range missiles.
So this is technically a break-even for me, as I had already moved my stop loss at break-even at this point, and from there actually had a nice reaction after, in this case, tapping me out for break-even. So at this point what I did was take a buy stop of this double MB here. I'm gonna just draw the containment line which came from here, where we had this flush here that came into the 20, and then we had a buyers come in again to put the price above rising MAs, and this is here the buy stop that I took from this basically this double MB. So here this was my entry point, and that's basically where we are right now, with price resting around entry point. I would expect price to come at least to this high here once again. There's a chance that this could fail because of the because of where we are currently on the move, but based on the cycle that we are, there's also a probability based on the setup that we have that price could continue to the upside. Here we had basically MMB1 was validated. I'm gonna just flip once again as we're getting on close to our, when we're getting the move based on our what we were expecting here, and this is basically the thought process behind that. So that we could keep on the move to the upside based on the cycle that we are having here. MMB1 was validated through here, came through this flush. So now I would expect at least this high to be taken, and in this case, if that's get validated, the move will probably continue to the upside. That would be my analysis at this point. So now we're getting price moving below our entry point, not below the 50, but around it. Now I think we are around 50% drawdown. So in case that comes back to break even, I will take my, it gains back to entry point, I will take my break even. So we moved away from this, not a chance to get a break even. Now we are below the EMA on the validation. So we need to see a strength move to the upside. Otherwise, this will probably fail. So yeah, at this point, this is probably gonna be a loss. It's getting a reaction from there. Let's see. So that was the stop loss taken, a tap of the stop loss. So I'm about to stop the recording for today. At this point, we validated MMB1 on our context time frame, and from there we had basically a flush, a short flush here on the context time frame, which is basically around this area where we had price after creating MMB1. We had also the validation on MMB1 at this point, and then from there we had basically this flush here that failed on the validation, coming under the EMAs, and from there we had then an accumulation, a new accumulation out of a reaction that price had on the 5 EMA on the context. We had the buildup of MMB1, the buildup of MMB2, and from there we continue the move to the upside. So basically we are very much bullish on this market, not as much obviously as the reaction we had at market open, where there were some nice opportunities for sure. But then we had, in terms of market of price cycles, we had a clean flush here on our context to the 10 EMA, and then a reaction from there. So this is basically where we are at this point. So I'm gonna close the recording for now and gonna be back tomorrow.